The pen feels heavier than it should. My hand trembles above the dotted line, and I can hear the distant pop of champagne corks from somewhere down the hall. Times Square is about to explode in celebration, and here I am, in a cramped attorney's office on the 32nd floor of a Manhattan high-rise, about to end 7 years of marriage with a single stroke of ink. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting everything in that sterile, unforgiving glow that makes even healthy skin look sallow. Outside the window, the city glitters like a promise I stopped believing in years ago. Snow falls in lazy spirals, catching the light from 1,000 windows, and I think about how strange it is that something so beautiful can exist in the same moment as something so devastating. My name is Clara Bennett. I am 34 years old, and in approximately 3 minutes, I will no longer be Clara Carbone. The attorney clears his throat. He is a patient man, this Mr. Whitmore, with his wire-rimmed glasses and his carefully neutral expression. He has done this 1,000 times, I am sure, watched women like me hesitate at the edge of the abyss, pen hovering, heart racing. He knows that some of us jump and some of us step back. He has learned not to rush the moment. Marco is not here. Of course he is not here. In 7 years of marriage, I have learned that Marco Carbone does not show up for the moments that matter. He sends representatives, proxies, men in expensive suits who speak in his name and sign on his behalf. The man across from me now, someone I have never seen before, holds Marco's power of attorney like a weapon. He does not look at me. He does not need to. I think about the woman I was when I met Marco, 27 years old, fresh out of nursing school, working double shifts at Lenox Hill Hospital just to make rent on a studio apartment in Washington Heights. I believed in love then. I believed that when a man looked at you a certain way, it meant something. I believed that passion was the same as partnership, that intensity was the same as intimacy. I was so young, so impossibly, heartbreakingly young. The first time I saw Marco, he was sitting in the emergency room at 3 a.m, blood seeping through a makeshift bandage on his forearm. His eyes were dark, almost black in the harsh hospital light, and when he looked up at me, I felt something shift in my chest. A key turning in a lock I did not know existed. He told me he had cut himself on broken glass. A bar fight, he said, with that crooked smile that would later become my undoing. I did not ask questions. I cleaned the wound, applied butterfly strips, told him to keep it dry and come back if he saw signs of infection. He asked for my name. I gave it to him. He asked for my number. I hesitated. "Please," he said. "Just coffee. 1 cup. If you hate me after that, I will never bother you again." I did not hate him. That was the problem. I fell into him like a stone, into water, fast and complete, and by the time I realized how deep I was, it was already too late to swim back to the surface. The man with the power of attorney shifts in his seat. His watch catches the light. It is expensive, that watch. Everything about him is expensive. I wonder if Marco pays him well, this stranger who has been sent to witness the dissolution of my marriage. I wonder if he knows anything about me at all, or if I am just another item on his agenda, another task to complete. Before midnight, I sign my name. The ink is blue. It bleeds slightly into the paper, spreading at the edges like a bruise. Clara Bennett. Not Carbone. Bennett. My maiden name feels foreign in my hand, like a language I used to speak, but have forgotten. Mr. Whitmore takes the document, examines it briefly, nods. He says something about filing and processing times and final decrees, but I am not listening. I am watching the snow fall outside the window, watching the lights of the city blur and shimmer through my tears. It is 11:47 p.m. on December 31st. In 13 minutes, a new year will begin, and I will begin it alone. The elevator ride down is endless. 32 floors of silence, broken only by the soft mechanical hum of descent. I catch my reflection in the polished metal doors and barely recognize the woman staring back at me. She is too thin, this woman. Her cheekbones are too sharp, her eyes too hollow. She looks like someone who has been slowly disappearing, one piece at a time, until there is almost nothing left. The lobby is empty, except for a security guard who nods at me as I pass. Outside, the cold hits me like a wall, stealing my breath, making my eyes water even more than they already are. I pull my coat tighter and start walking, not sure where I'm going, only knowing that I cannot stand still. Times Square is 10 blocks south. I can hear it from here, the distant roar of a million voices, counting down to something new. I walk, in the opposite direction, toward the park, toward the darkness, toward anywhere that is not full of people celebrating things I no longer believe in. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I ignore it. It buzzes again, and again. Finally, I pull it out, expecting to see my sister's name, expecting another worried text asking if I'm okay, if I need her to come get me, if I want to come over and watch the ball drop with her and the kids. But it is not my sister. The message is from a number I do not recognize, and it contains only 4 words. Come to the warehouse. I stop walking. The snow is falling harder now, collecting on my shoulders, melting against my cheeks. I stare at the message, trying to make sense of it. The warehouse. There is only one warehouse that means anything to me, one warehouse that has haunted my nightmares for the past 3 years. It is where I discovered the truth about my husband. I should delete the message. I should turn around and go home, back to the empty apartment that used to feel like a prison, and now just feels like a void. I should call my sister, tell her I am on my way, let her wrap me in her arms, and tell me that everything is going to be okay, even though we both know it is not. But my feet are already moving. South, toward the river, toward the warehouse district where Marco's world exists in shadows, where men speak in whispers, and loyalty is measured in silence. I do not know why I am going. Maybe it is because I have spent 7 years asking questions I was too afraid to answer. Maybe it is because now that my marriage is over, now that the papers are signed and there is nothing left to lose, I finally want to know the truth. Or maybe it is because some part of me, some small and stubborn part that refuses to die, still believes that Marco will be there, that he will look at me the way he used to, before everything went wrong, that he will explain everything, and somehow, impossibly, it will all make sense. The streets grow darker as I walk, the crowds thin, the festive lights of Midtown give way to industrial shadows, brick and steel and the smell of the river. My heels click against the wet pavement, echoing off the walls of empty buildings. I should be afraid. I am not. The warehouse looms ahead, a massive structure of corrugated metal and broken windows. There are lights inside, flickering through the gaps, and I can see the shapes of cars parked along the fence. Expensive cars, black cars, the kind of cars that belong to men who do not want to be seen. I stop at the gate. My heart is pounding now, so loud I can feel it in my throat. I think about turning back. I think about everything I know and everything I do not know and everything I have tried so hard not to know for 7 long years. And then I walk through. The interior of the warehouse is vast and cold, a cathedral of concrete and shadows. There are men here, dozens of them, standing in clusters, speaking in low voices. They fall, silent as I enter, their eyes tracking me like wolves watching prey. I do not belong here. I know that. They know that. But something keeps me moving forward, some force I cannot name, pulling me deeper into the darkness. And then I see him. Marco stands at the far end of the warehouse, surrounded by men in suits, his back to me. He is taller than I remember, or maybe I have just spent so long trying to make him smaller in my mind, trying to shrink him down to something I could handle. He is, wearing a dark coat, his shoulders broad beneath the fabric, and when he turns, his eyes find mine immediately, as if he has been waiting for me all along. But he is not alone. There is a man kneeling before him, a man with blood on his face and fear in his eyes, his hands bound behind his back, and Marco is holding something, something that catches the light, something that makes my blood run cold. Time stops. The world narrows to this moment, to this image, to the man I married standing over. Another man like a king over a subject, power radiating from every line of his body. And then Marco smiles, that crooked smile, the one that used to make my heart race, the one that now makes my stomach turn. "Clara," he says. His voice is exactly as I remember it. Deep, warm, dangerous. "I was wondering when you would come. I cannot speak. I cannot move. I can only stand there, frozen as the truth I have been running from for 7 years finally catches up to me. My husband is not just a businessman. He is not just wealthy. He is not just powerful. Marco Carbone is the boss, and I have just walked into the heart of his empire. Check if you are already subscribed to this channel. If you love stories that grab your heart and never let go, stories that make you feel every heartbeat and hold your breath until the very end, then hit that subscribe button now, because you are not going to want to miss what happens next. The kneeling man whimpers. It is a small sound, almost lost in the vastness of the warehouse, but it cuts through the silence like a blade. I watch as Marco lowers his hand, passing whatever he was holding to the man beside him, and takes a step toward me. Every instinct in my body screams at me to run, but my feet are rooted to the concrete floor, and all I can do is watch as he approaches, his eyes never leaving mine. "Clara," he says again, softer this time. "You should not be here. You sent me a message." My voice comes out steadier than I expected. "You told me to come." His brow furrows. "I sent you nothing." Behind him the men shift uneasily. The kneeling man is dragged to his feet, blood dripping from a cut above his eye, and hustled toward a door at the back of the warehouse. I try not to think about where they are taking him. I try not to think about what will happen to him when they get there. Marco reaches me, and I can smell him now. That familiar scent of cedar and something darker, something I could never quite identify. He is so close I could touch him. So close I could remember what it felt like to love him. "Someone wanted you here tonight," he says quietly. "Someone wanted you to see this. Why?" My throat is tight. Why would anyone want that? "Because," he says, and there is something in his voice that sounds almost like regret. "Someone wants to destroy me, and the best way to do that is through you. I do not understand." I take a step back, and he lets me go, his hands falling to his sides. "I do not understand any of this. Our marriage is over. I signed the papers tonight. I am nothing to you anymore." The look he gives me then is like a wound. It is raw and open and bleeding, and for just a moment I see the man I fell in love with 7 years ago. The man who brought me flowers for no reason and danced with me in the kitchen at midnight and told me I was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "You were never nothing to me," he says. "You were always everything." The words hit me like a fist to the chest. I want to believe him. I want to believe him so badly it hurts. But I have spent 3 years watching him pull away, watching the walls go up between us, watching our marriage crumble into dust, while he refused to tell me why. "Then why did you let me go?" My voice breaks on the question. "Why did you stop fighting for us?" Before he can answer, there is a sound from the entrance. Footsteps, fast and urgent. A young man appears, breathless, his face pale with something that looks like fear. "Boss," he says. "They are here, the Morellis. They breached the perimeter." Marco's expression changes in an instant. The vulnerability vanishes, replaced by something cold and hard and utterly ruthless. He turns to me, grabs my arm, and begins pulling me toward the back of the warehouse. "What is happening?" I demand, stumbling to keep up with him. "Marco, what is happening?" No time to explain. His grip tightens. "Stay close to me. Do exactly as I say." The warehouse erupts into chaos. Men are running, shouting, and I hear the distant sound of something that might be gunfire. Marco pushes me through a door, down a hallway, into a room that looks like an office. There are monitors on the walls, showing feeds from cameras positioned around the building. I can see men fighting. I can see shadows moving in the darkness. Marco locks the door behind us and turns to face me. "Listen to me," he says. His voice is calm, but I can see the tension in his jaw, the coiled readiness in his body. "There are things you do not know about me, Things I never wanted you to know. I kept them from you because I thought I could protect you. I thought if you did not know, they could not use you against me. I stare at him. The Morellis. I have heard that name before, whispered at dinner parties, mentioned in news reports about organized crime, a name that means power and danger and things that happen in the dark. You are in the mafia, I say. It is not a question. I am the head of my family, he says. I have been since my father passed 10 years ago. I built everything you see around you, the businesses, the investments, the influence, all of it. But we met at the hospital. I shake my head, trying to reconcile the man in front of me with the man who used to make me laugh. You were injured. You said it was a bar fight. I was injured because someone tried to end my life, he says flatly, and I went to a public hospital because my own doctor had been compromised. Meeting you was an accident. Falling in love with you was not. I sink into a chair, my legs unable to hold me any longer. 7 years. 7 years of marriage, of sharing a bed, of building what I thought was a life together, and all of it was built on lies. Why did you marry me? I ask. If you knew this would put me in danger, why did you marry me at all? Because I was selfish. He crosses the room, kneels in front of me, takes my hands in his. Because I looked at you and saw something pure, something untouched by this world, and I wanted it. I wanted you. I told myself I could keep you separate from all of this. I told myself I could have both. But you could not. No. His thumb traces circles on my palm. The Morellis have been trying to take over my territory for years. When they found out about you, they started making threats, indirect at first, then more explicit. I knew the only way to keep you safe was to let you go. So the divorce. My voice is barely a whisper. All of this. You pushed me away to protect me. He nods. And then someone sent you that message tonight. Someone who wanted you here in the middle of this, where they could use you as leverage. Who? I do not know. His jaw tightens. But I intend to find out. On the monitors, the fighting continues. I watch as men in dark clothing swarm through the warehouse, clashing with Marco's people. It is violent and chaotic and terrifying, and I cannot look away. What happens now? I ask. Now, Marco says, standing, pulling me to my feet. We get you somewhere safe. He leads me to a hidden panel in the wall, presses a code into a keypad, and reveals a narrow passage. The air inside is cold and stale, and I can see stairs leading downward into darkness. This leads to a tunnel, he explains. It comes out 3 blocks from here in the basement of a restaurant I own. There is a car waiting. My driver will take you to a secure location. What about you? I have to stay. His eyes meet mine, and I see something there that makes my heart. Ike, I have to end this. Marco, I grab his arm, my fingers digging into the fabric of his coat. Come with me, please. He looks at me for a long moment. Then he leans down and presses his lips to my forehead. It is the gentlest thing he has done in years, and it breaks something inside me. Go, he says against my skin. I will find you, I promise. And then he pushes me into the darkness, and the panel closes behind me, and I am alone. The tunnel is endless. I run, my heels abandoned somewhere. In the first 50 feet, my stockinged feet slapping against the cold concrete. I can hear my own breathing, harsh and ragged, and beneath it, the distant echo of the chaos I left behind. I do not know how long I run. Minutes, hours. Time loses meaning in the darkness. All I know is that I have to keep moving, have to reach the end, have to survive. When I finally emerge into the basement of the restaurant, I am shaking so hard I can barely stand. A man is waiting for me, just as Marco said. He takes one look at me and wraps a coat around my shoulders. Mrs. Carbone, he says. This way. I do not correct him. I do not tell him that I am not Mrs. Carbone anymore, that I signed away that name just hours ago. I just follow him, out a back door, into a waiting car, and into the night. The city blurs past the windows. I can hear fireworks in the distance, the sounds of celebration that feel like they belong to a different world, a different life. The clock on the dashboard reads 12:15. The new year has begun and everything I thought I knew has been shattered. The driver does not speak. He navigates the streets with practiced efficiency, taking turns I do not recognize, heading somewhere north of the city. I watch the buildings give way to trees, the lights of Manhattan fading behind us like stars going out one by one. I think about Marco, about the way he looked at me in that office, like I was something precious and fragile and worth protecting. I think about all. The years I spent wondering why he was pulling away, why our marriage was dying, why the man I loved seemed to be disappearing before my eyes. He was protecting me. All along, he was protecting me. I do not know what that means. I do not know if it changes anything. I only know that the divorce papers are signed, the marriage is over, and somehow, impossibly, I am more tangled up in Marco Carbone's life than I have ever been. The car finally stops in front of a house. It is large and old, set, back from the road surrounded by trees. The windows are dark except for one glowing softly on the second floor. "You will be safe here," the driver says. "Someone will come for you in the morning." I get out of the car and stand in the cold night air, watching the taillights disappear down the driveway. The snow has stopped. The sky is clear. I can see more stars than I have seen in years, living in the city. Inside, the house is warm and quiet. There is food in the kitchen, clothes in the closet, everything I could possibly need. I wander through the rooms like a ghost, touching surfaces, opening drawers, trying to make sense of this new reality. On the nightstand in the bedroom, there is a photograph. It shows Marco and me on our wedding day, young and happy, and so certain that we had forever ahead of us. I pick it up, trace the outline of his face with my finger. He kept this here, in a safe house that no one was supposed to know about. He kept our photograph where he could see it. I fall asleep with the picture pressed against my chest, tears drying on my cheeks and Marco's name on my lips. I wake to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the smell of coffee brewing somewhere in the house. For a moment, I do not remember where I am. I do not remember anything. And then it all comes flooding back, a tidal wave of memory and emotion that leaves me gasping. I sit up, push the covers aside, and force myself to move. There is a bathroom attached to the bedroom, stocked with toiletries and towels. I shower quickly, trying to wash away the events of the night before, knowing that no amount of water can clean the stain of what I have learned. When I go downstairs, there is a woman in the kitchen. She is older than me, maybe 50, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and kind eyes that remind me of my mother. "Good morning," she says. "You must be Clara. I am Rosa. Mr. Carbone asked me to look after you." Mr. Carbone, the name sounds strange coming from her, formal and distant, as if he is a stranger and not the man who held me in his arms on countless nights, who whispered promises against my skin, who made me believe in things I had stopped believing in. "Is there any news?" I ask. "From last night?" Rosa's expression softens. "He is safe. They repelled the attack, but several of his men were injured." I sink into a chair at the kitchen table. Rosa places a cup of coffee in front of me, and I wrap my hands around it, grateful for the warmth. "What happens now?" "Now," she says, "you wait. Mr. Carbone will come for you when it is safe. I spend the day in a fog. I eat when Rosa brings me food. I sleep when exhaustion overtakes me. I stare out the windows at the snow-covered grounds and try to imagine what Marco is doing, what wars he is fighting, what dangers he is facing. I think about the Morellis, about the message that brought me to the warehouse, about someone who wants to destroy Marco through me. By evening, I have made a decision. I cannot just sit here helpless, waiting for someone else to determine my fate. I have spent too many years doing that already, too many years trusting Marco to handle everything, to know best, to keep me safe without ever telling me what I was being kept safe from. "Rosa," I say, finding her in the kitchen preparing dinner, "I need to use a phone. I need to call someone." She hesitates. "Mr. Carbone said no outside contact. It is too dangerous. Please." I take her hands in mine. "I have a sister. She..." does not know where I am. She must be worried sick. Something in my expression must convince her, because she nods slowly and retrieves a phone from a drawer. "You have 5 minutes," she says, "and you cannot tell her where you are." I dial my sister's number from memory. She answers on the first ring. "Clara?" Her voice is frantic. "Clara, where are you? I have been calling you all night. The police said you never came home. They said—" "Emily," I interrupt. "I am okay, I promise. I am safe. Where are you? Who are you with? Clara, you are scaring me. I cannot tell you that right now." I close my eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. "But I need you to trust me. I need you to know that I am okay, and I will explain everything as soon as I can." There is a long pause. When Emily speaks again, her voice is quieter, more controlled. "This is about Marco, is it not?" I do not answer. I do not have to. "Clara," she says, "whatever is going on, whatever he has done, you do not owe him anything. You signed those papers. You are free. You can walk away. I know," I say. "But I do not think I can. Not anymore." I hang up before she can argue. Rosa takes the phone back, her expression sympathetic, and returns to her cooking. That night, I dream of Marco. We are back in our apartment on the Upper East Side, before everything fell apart, before the silence and the distance and the divorce papers. He is dancing with me in the kitchen, some old song playing on the radio, and he is laughing, and I am laughing, and for one perfect moment, everything is exactly as it should be. When I wake, there are tears on my pillow, and the space beside me is empty. 3 days pass. Rosa brings me books, puzzles, anything to keep my mind occupied. I exercise in the mornings, walking the perimeter of the property, breathing in the cold air, trying to clear my head. In the afternoons, I sit by the fire and read, losing myself in stories that have nothing to do with my own. On the 4th day, Marco comes. I hear the car before I see it, the crunch of tires on gravel, and by the time I reach the front door, he is already there. He looks exhausted. There are shadows under his eyes and a bandage wrapped around his left hand, but he is alive. He is here. "Marco," I breathe. He crosses the threshold in 2 strides and pulls me into his arms. I do not resist. I cannot. I bury my face in his chest and breathe him in, and for one long moment, nothing else matters. "I am sorry," he says into my hair. "I'm sorry it took me so long. What happened?" He pulls back, holds me at arm's length, studies my face as if memorizing it. The Morellis are retreating. For now. We have a window of peace, but I do not know how long it will last. And the person who sent me the message? His jaw tightens, still looking. "I have questions," I say. "So many questions." "I know." He cups my face in his hands, and I will answer every single one. But right now, I need you to do something for me. "What?" "Come with me." He leads me outside to the car and opens the passenger door. I hesitate for just a moment, thinking of Emily, thinking of the life I was supposed to be starting, the clean break I was supposed to be making. And then I get in. We drive in silence for a long time. The roads are empty, the landscape a blur of white and grey. I watch the bare trees pass by the window and think about all the paths that have led me to this moment. "I have a confession to make," Marco says. Finally, I turn to look at him. His eyes are fixed on the road, his hands steady on the wheel. "When I first met you," he continues, "I told you it was an accident, meeting you at the hospital. But that was not entirely true." "What do you mean?" "I mean that I had heard of you before that night. There was a nurse at Lenox Hill who had helped one of my men. She was kind to him, did not ask questions, just took care of him. He spoke of her often, said she had a way of making people feel safe even in the worst moments. My heart is pounding. You came to the hospital looking for me. I came to the hospital because I was genuinely injured. But when I saw your name on the whiteboard, I knew you were the one he had talked about. And when you walked into that room, when you looked at me with those eyes, I knew something else." "What?" "That I was going to love you. that I was going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you. I do not know what to say. The confession hangs between us, heavy with meaning. I failed, he says quietly. I kept things from you. I pushed you away. I made you think that our marriage was dying because I did not love you anymore. But the truth is, I loved you too much. I loved you so much that I was willing to lose you if it meant keeping you safe. I reach over and take his hand, the one that is not injured. I feel his fingers lace through mine, warm and solid and real. You should have told me, I say. You should have trusted me. I know I could have helped. I could have been your partner in this instead of just your secret. I know. He brings our joined hands to his lips, kisses my knuckles, and I am going to spend the rest of my life making up for that, if you will let me. The car slows. We have arrived somewhere, though I did not notice us entering any gates or passing any guards. I look out the window and see a building I do not recognize. It is modern and clean, all glass and steel, nestled into the hillside like it belongs there. What is this place? This, Marco says, is where we start over. Now I want you to do something. Right now, before we continue, leave a comment with the words, I believe in second chances. Because sometimes the story you think is ending is really just beginning. Go ahead, I will wait. The building is a medical facility, not a hospital exactly, but something more specialized. As Marco leads me through the entrance, I notice the state-of-the-art equipment, the quiet efficiency of the staff, the air of calm professionalism that pervades every corner. What is this? I ask again. I have been funding this clinic for the past 3 years, Marco explains. It provides free healthcare to families who cannot afford it, women and children mostly, people who have nowhere else to turn. I stare at him. You built a free clinic? I wanted to do something good. He stops walking, turns to face me. I have done a lot of bad things in my life, Clara. Things I am not proud of, things that keep me awake at night. But this is something I can point to and say, this is something good. This is something that matters. I think about all the years I spent wondering what Marco did with his time. All the late nights, the unexplained absences, the meetings he would never discuss. I assumed the worst. I assumed he was out there somewhere, doing the things that powerful men in his position do. Dangerous things. Violent things. I never. Imagine this. A woman approaches us. She is wearing scrubs, her hair pulled back, her face kind. Mr. Carbone, she says, it is good to see you, and you must be Clara. We have heard so much about you. I look at Marco, confused. Everyone here knows who you are, he says softly. I told them about the nurse I married. The woman who showed me that kindness still exists in this world. The woman, Dr. Sarah Chen, according to her badge, gives me a warm smile. Would you like a tour? For the next hour, I walk through the clinic, meeting staff, visiting patients, seeing the work that Marco's money has made possible. There are children here, small and fragile, receiving treatment they would never have been able to afford. There are mothers, exhausted and grateful, who speak of Mr. Carbone like he is some kind of saint. It is surreal, all of it. This man who commands an empire of shadows, who has enemies powerful enough to send armies against him, who has done things I cannot even imagine. This same man has built a sanctuary for the vulnerable. Why did you never tell me about this, I ask when we are alone again, standing in a garden courtyard where patients come to find peace. Because I did not want you to think I was trying to buy my redemption, he says. I did not want you to look at this and think that it makes up for everything else. But it changes things. I turn to face him. Marco, this changes things. Does it? His voice is weary. I am still the man who runs an organization that operates outside the law. I am still the man who has ordered things that would horrify you if you knew the details. A few good deeds do not erase a lifetime of sins. Maybe not, I say. But they show me who you are trying to be. They show me the man underneath all of that darkness. He is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice is rough. I want out, he says. I have wanted out for years. But it is not that simple. You do not just walk away from this life. There are too many people depending on me, too many enemies waiting for a sign of weakness. If I step down, everything I have built crumbles, and the people I care about become targets. So what do? We fight, he says. We find out who is trying to destroy us, and we eliminate the threat. And then maybe we find a way forward. I think about that word. We, not I. We. You keep saying we, I observe. But Marco, the divorce papers are signed. Legally, we are not together anymore. Legally. He takes a step closer. But in here, he touches his chest over his heart. In here you are still my wife. You always will be. That is not fair. I know. I cannot just pretend the last 3 years did not happen. I cannot just forget the pain, the loneliness, the feeling of being abandoned by the person who was supposed to love me most. I am not asking you to forget, he says. I am asking you to let me prove that I can be better. Let me show you the man I want to be, not the man I have been. And if you cannot change, then at least I will have tried, he says. At least I will have shown you that you were worth fighting for. I do not know what to say. I have spent so long steeling myself against him, building walls to protect my heart from further damage. And now here he is, dismantling those walls brick by brick, and I do not know how to stop him. I do not know if I want to stop him. Come, he says, taking my hand. There is one more place I want to show you. We drive again, this time to a property I recognize, the home we shared during the first years of our marriage before we moved to Manhattan. It is a brownstone in Brooklyn, 3 stories of exposed brick and hardwood floors and memories I thought I had buried. I have not been here in years, I say as we pull up to the curb. Neither have I. Marco turns off the engine but makes no move to get out. I could not bear it. Every room reminded me of you, of us, of everything I was losing. Then why? Are we here now? Because this is where it started, he says, and I thought maybe this is where we could start again. We go inside. The furniture is covered with sheets, and dust motes float in the shafts of light coming through the windows, but beneath the neglect I can still see the home we built together, the kitchen where we cooked dinner every Sunday, the living room where we danced to records and argued about politics, and fell asleep, tangled together on the couch. I find myself standing in front of the fireplace, staring at a photograph on the mantel. It shows us on our first anniversary, grinning at the camera, so impossibly in love that it hurts to look at. I remember that day, Marco says, coming to stand beside me. You burned the roast. You said you loved burned roast. I lied. I know. We stand there in silence, looking at the photograph, and something shifts between us. Some invisible barrier that I did not even know was there. Marco turns to me. His eyes are dark and intense, the way they were the night we met. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, he says. I know I destroyed what we had. But Clara, if there is any part of you that still believes we could be something, I am asking you to give me a chance. One chance. That is all. I think about the woman I was when I signed those divorce papers. The woman who thought her marriage was over, who thought she knew the whole story, who thought she was finally free. I was wrong about all of it. One chance, I say finally. But Marco, if you hurt me again, I will not. He takes my face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the strength I know he possesses. I swear to you, Clara, I will not. And then he kisses me. It is not like the kisses we have shared before. It is not passionate or desperate or hungry. It is soft, reverent, like a prayer and a promise wrapped into one. When we finally pull apart, I am crying. Again. I seem to do nothing but cry these days. What happens now? I whisper. Now, Marco says, we figure out who is trying to destroy us, and then we make them regret they ever tried. The next few weeks pass in a blur of investigation and preparation. Marco brings me into his world fully now. No more secrets, no more hiding. I meet his lieutenants, his advisors, the men and women who have dedicated their lives to his organization. They look at me with a mixture of curiosity and respect, and I realize that they have known about me all along, known that their boss was married to a nurse who knew nothing of his true business, known that he was protecting her, even when it cost him everything. I learn things, terrible things, the kind of things that would have sent me running 3 years ago, before I understood the full picture. But I also learn other things. The charities Marco funds anonymously, the families he has helped escape dangerous situations, the enemies he has neutralized not out of cruelty, but out of necessity, because in his world, mercy is often a luxury that no one can afford. It is a complex moral landscape, and I'm not sure where I stand in it. But I know one thing for certain. Marco is not a monster. He is a man who was born into a world he did not choose, who has made choices I cannot always understand, who is trying desperately to find a way to be good, despite everything working against him. The investigation into the mysterious message leads us down a dozen dead ends before we finally find a breakthrough. A young woman named Sophia, who works in Marco's organization, discovers a connection between the message and a lieutenant named Dominic Romano. Dominic has been with the family for 15 years. He was one of my father's most trusted men, Marco tells me. His face is hard, but I can see the betrayal in his eyes. He has been leaking information to the Morellis for months, coordinates, schedules, vulnerabilities. Why would he do that? Sophia has the answer to that too. His son, she says. The Morellis have his son. The revelation changes everything. Dominic is not a traitor by choice. He is a father desperate to save his child, caught between two impossible loyalties. We have to help him, I say immediately. Marco looks at me like I have grown a second head. Clara, he's been betraying us for months. Because of him, men have lost their lives. Because of him, you were put in danger. Because of him, you were put in danger, I counter. Not because he wanted to hurt you, but because he was trying to protect his child. Can you honestly tell me you would not do the same? He is silent for a long moment. Then he sighs, runs a hand through his hair, and nods. Fine. We will get the boy back. But after that, Dominic and I are going to have a very long conversation. The rescue mission is planned with military precision. Marco assembles a team, and to my surprise, he includes me in the planning sessions. I do not have tactical expertise, but I know medicine. I know trauma. And if things go wrong, I know how to save lives. On the night of the operation, I wait in a safe house with a medical kit and a racing heart. Marco calls in every hour with updates. They have located the Morelli safe house. They have breached the perimeter. They have found the boy. And then, finally, the call I have been waiting for. We have him, Marco says. We are coming home. When they arrive, I am ready. The boy, Anthony, is 14 years old and terrified. He has bruises on his face and a sprained wrist, but nothing that will not heal with time and care. I treat him gently, speaking softly, and when his father arrives, bursting through the door with tears streaming down his face, I step back and let them have their reunion. Dominic falls to his knees in front of Marco. I am sorry, he says over and over. I am sorry. I did not know what else to do. They said they would hurt him. They said, enough. Marco holds up a hand. Your son is safe. That is what matters now. But what I did, what you did was unforgivable, Marco says flatly. But I understand why you did it. And because of that, I'm giving you a choice. You can leave. Take your son and disappear. Start a new life somewhere the Morellis will never find you, or you can stay and prove your loyalty again. Dominic looks up, disbelief written across his face. You would trust me again? No, Marco says. But my wife believes in second chances, and I am trying to learn from her. I feel something warm bloom in my chest. This is not the man the world sees. This is not the feared boss, the ruthless leader. This is the man I married, the man I fell in love with, finally emerging from behind the walls he built around himself. Dominic chooses to stay. He swears a new oath of loyalty. his son by his side, and Marco accepts it with a nod. That night, alone in our room at the Brooklyn Brownstone, Marco pulls me close. "Thank you," he murmurs against my hair. "For what? For believing in me, for seeing something worth saving." I tilt my head up to look at him. "You have always been worth saving, Marco. You just had to believe it yourself." We stay like that for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, and for the first time in years, I feel like I am exactly where I am supposed to be. The Morelli threat does not disappear overnight. There are negotiations carefully brokered by intermediaries. There are territorial agreements, lines drawn in the sand, promises made and kept. Marco works tirelessly, his days consumed by meetings and strategy sessions, his nights spent by my side. I find a purpose too. The clinic becomes my project and I throw myself into it with everything I have. I coordinate with Dr. Chen to expand services, reach more families, provide care to those who need it most. It is not nursing, not exactly, but it is healing of a different kind, and it fills something inside me that has been empty for too long. Spring arrives, melting the snow, bringing new life to the city. On a warm April morning, Marco asks me to take a walk with him. We end up in Central Park near the Bethesda Fountain, where we had our first real date 7 years ago. The cherry blossoms are in bloom, and the air smells like possibility. "Do you remember this place?" Marco asks. "How could I forget? You spilled an entire coffee on your shirt trying to impress me." He laughs, a real laugh, and I realize how long it has been since I heard that sound. "Worth it," he says. "It got you to laugh. First time I ever heard you really laugh." I was determined to hear. "Hi it again." We stop at the edge of the fountain. The water sparkles in the sunlight, and I watch the coins scattered at the bottom, each one a wish, a hope, a prayer for something better. Clara. Marco's voice is serious now. "These past few months have been the hardest of my life, and also the best. Why the best? Because I finally stopped lying to you." He takes my hands in his. "I finally let you see who I really am, and you did not run. I thought about it, I admit, several times, but you stayed. I stayed." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. My heart stutters. "I know the divorce papers are signed," he says. "I know that legally, we are not married anymore, but I am asking you, Clara Bennett, if you will give me the chance to make this right, to do it again the way I should have done it from the beginning. No secrets, no lies, just us." He opens the box. Inside is a ring, simple and elegant, nothing like the ostentatious diamond he gave me the first time. "I had this made," he says. "The stone is from my grandmother's ring. She gave it to me before she passed and told me to save it for someone who would understand my heart. I think she would have loved you. Marco." My voice breaks on his name. "You do not have to answer right now," he says quickly. "I know this is a lot. I know I am asking for something I probably do not deserve, but I needed you to know. I needed you to know that I am in this, that I want to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserve." I look at the ring, at him, at this man who has broken me and put me back together, who has shown me both the best and the worst of himself, who has somehow become my home, despite everything. "Yes," I say. "Yes? Yes, Marco. I will marry you again." He pulls me into his arms, and he is crying, and I am crying, and somewhere in the distance, a street musician is playing something soft and sweet, and the world keeps spinning, and nothing is perfect. But somehow, impossibly, everything is exactly as it should be. The wedding is small, intimate, nothing like our first ceremony, which was a lavish affair designed to impress people I did not know and did not care about. This time we marry in the garden of the Brooklyn Brownstone, surrounded by cherry blossoms and the handful of people who truly matter. Emily comes, though she makes me promise to explain everything later. She stands beside me in a simple lavender dress, her eyes wet with happy tears, and I think about how lucky I am to have a sister who has never stopped believing in me. Rosa officiates, which surprises me, until I learn that she was ordained years ago, long before she started working for Marco. She speaks of love and commitment, and the courage it takes to choose someone every day over and over again. I wear a white dress, not a gown, just a simple cotton dress that makes me feel like myself. Marco wears a suit that probably costs more than my first car, but when he looks at me, I know he does not see the dress or the setting or any of the trappings. He sees me, just me, the woman he fell in love with in a hospital room at 3 in the morning, the woman he almost lost, the woman he chose to fight for. Our vows are simple. I promise to trust you, I say, even when it is hard. I promise to stand beside you even when the world is against us. I promise to believe in second chances, in new beginnings, in the possibility that two broken people can build something whole. I promise to tell you the truth, Marco says, even when it hurts. I promise to protect you not by keeping you in the dark, but by making you my partner. I promise to spend the rest of my life earning the love you have given me. We exchange rings, not the old ones which are somewhere in a safe deposit box, relics of a marriage that was built on half-truths. New rings, simple gold bands that symbolize who we are now. And then Marco kisses me, and the small gathering cheers, and I realize that this is what I wanted all along. Not the fairy tale, not the grand gesture, just this, just us, just love, honest and imperfect and real. The reception is held at the clinic, an unconventional choice, but it feels right. The patients and staff celebrate with us, children running through the halls, laughter echoing off the walls. Dr. Chen gives a toast that makes everyone cry, and even Marco's most hardened lieutenants have to look away to hide their emotions. Later, when the party winds down and the guests begin to leave, Marco and I slip away to the rooftop garden. The city spreads out below us, a million lights against the darkness, and I lean into him, content. I have something to tell you, I say. Good news or bad news? Good news, I think. I press my hand against my stomach. The best news. Marco goes very still. Clara, are you saying... I am saying that in about 7 months, we are going to need to child-proof the brownstone. For a moment, he does not move, does not breathe. And then, he is lifting me off my feet, spinning me around, laughing and crying all at once. A baby, he says. We are having a baby. We are having a baby. He sets me down gently, his hands cupping my face, his eyes searching mine. Are you happy? I am terrified, I admit, and overwhelmed, and yes, Marco, I am happy. He kisses me again, slower this time, deeper, and I know that whatever comes next, whatever challenges we face, whatever enemies try to tear us apart, we will face it together. Because that is what we do now. We fight, we survive, we love, and we never ever give up. The months that follow are chaotic and beautiful, and everything I never knew I needed. My body changes, my world shifts, and Marco is there for every moment. He comes to every appointment, holds my hand during every ultrasound, reads every parenting book he can get his hands on. The nursery in the brownstone is decorated in soft yellows and greens, animals from a classic storybook painted on the walls by an artist Marco, hired after seeing her work at a street fair. It is whimsical and warm, and nothing like the austere elegance that defines the rest of his world. We argue about names. I want something traditional. He wants something that honors his family's Italian heritage. We eventually compromise on Alexander Marco Carbone, though we both know we will probably call him Alex. The delivery is long and difficult. 22 hours of labor, followed by complications that require emergency intervention. Marco paces the hallway like a caged animal, and when they finally let him into the room, his face is pale with fear. But then he sees our son, small and perfect, wrapped in a blue blanket, and everything else falls away. Clara, he breathes. Look at him. I know, I say, exhausted and overwhelmed and so full of love I think I might burst. He is perfect. He is ours. Marco holds our son with a tenderness that breaks my heart. This man, this powerful, dangerous, complicated man, holding a 7-pound baby, like he is the most precious thing in the universe. Because he is. Because love has a way of transforming everything it touches. The early months of parenthood are a blur of sleepless nights and tiny fingers and the overwhelming responsibility of keeping another human being alive. Marco is surprisingly good at it. He walks the floors at 3 in the morning, singing Italian lullabies that his mother used to sing to him. He changes diapers with efficient competence. He talks to our son, constantly, telling him stories about his heritage, his family, the world he will someday inherit. But there is also the other world, the one that exists in shadows, that demands Marco's attention and energy, that never quite releases its grip. The Morellis are quiet, but we both know it will not last forever. There are always threats, always challenges, always enemies waiting for a moment of weakness. One night, when Alex is 6 months old, I wake to find Marco standing at the nursery window, watching our son sleep. "What is wrong?" I ask, coming to stand beside him. "Nothing," he says, "everything." He runs a hand through his hair. I look at him, Clara. I look at our son, and I think about the world I am going to leave him, the enemies he will inherit, the danger he will face just because of who his father is. "You are not your father," I say softly, "and he will not be you." "How do you know?" "Because he will have something you did not. He will have a choice." Marco looks at me, his eyes dark with emotion. "You really believe that?" "I believe in you." I take his hand. I believe in us, and I believe that we can build something better, something worth inheriting. He pulls me close, and we stand there together, watching our son sleep, and I know that whatever comes next, we will face it as a family. The years pass. Alex grows from a baby into a toddler, then a boy, curious and bright, and so much like his father that it takes my breath away. The brownstone fills with laughter and chaos, the sound of small feet running through hallways, the endless stream of questions that children ask. Marco makes good on his promise. Slowly, carefully, he begins transitioning his business away from the shadows and into the light. It is not easy. There are setbacks, betrayals, moments when I fear we will lose everything we have built. But he persists. He fights. He proves again and again that he is the man I always believed he could be. The clinic expands. What started as one facility becomes a network of free healthcare centers across the city. I run the foundation that oversees them, using skills I never knew I had, building something that will outlast us all. Emily becomes my partner in this work. She moves to the city, brings her own family, and together we create something beautiful out of tragedy. Our parents would be proud, I think. They would be so proud. On Alex's 7th birthday, we throw a party in the garden. There are balloons and streamers and a cake, shaped like a dinosaur because dinosaurs are his current obsession. Children from the clinic come, their parents too, and the brownstone is full of joy. Later, after the guests have gone and Alex is asleep, Marco and I sit on the porch, watching the fireflies dance in the summer night. "Happy?" he asks. More than I ever thought possible. He takes my hand, and I look at the ring on my finger, the simple gold band that represents everything we have overcome. "I was thinking," he says, "about that. Night at the warehouse. New Year's Eve?" I shudder at the memory. "I was going to end things with you that night," he admits. "I had decided that the only way to keep you safe was to push you away completely. And then you showed up, walked right into the middle of everything. And I knew in that moment that I could not let you go, that I would rather face 1,000 enemies with you by my side than face a single day without you." "Marco Carbone," I say, "are you getting sentimental in your old age?" He laughs, pulls me close, presses a kiss to my temple. "Only with you, always with you." We sit there until the fireflies fade and the stars come out, and I think about everything that brought us here. The pain, the loss, the redemption, the love. It has not been easy. It will never be easy. But it has been worth it. Every tear, every struggle, every moment of doubt. Because in the end, love won. Not the fairy tale kind, with perfect endings and no complications. The real kind. The messy, complicated, fight for it every day kind. And that, I think, is the most beautiful kind of all. If you have watched this far, it is because you liked this story. Leave a comment saying I have watched this far so I can get to know you and see who really enjoys the stories here on the channel. And if this story touched your heart, Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next one. Share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. And leave a like to let me know you were here. Because this is just the beginning. And I cannot wait to share the next story with you.